Okay, so now we have an exponential function, and here x is the time to failure in hours. So f of x is the density function of x, and here we will use the shortcut that we learned in the previous lesson, that if you have xeax, then the integral of that is just xeax over a minus eax over a squared. And we will need it here because here we can say that e of x, so e of x is equal to x f of x. By definition, this is the expected value, integral of x fx from negative infinity to infinity, but here it's non-zero from 0 to infinity. So x times 7 over 2000 e to the minus 7x over 2000 dx. And now, once you pull the 7 over 2000 out, we get x e to the negative 7x over 2000, which is exactly the form that I showed here in the shortcut, xeax. So in this case, a is negative 7 over 2000 here. A is equal to negative 7 over 2000 for the shortcut. So e of x would be this outside 7 over 2000, and now we apply the shortcut. Shortcut says xeax over a. So it would be x e ax over a, and a is negative 7 over 2000. And then the second part says minus eax over a squared. So minus eax. So ax means this is also negative. So minus eax means 7x over 2000. Eax over a square minus eax over a square, and a is negative 7 over 2000 whole square. 0 to infinity. So here, when you substitute infinity, so first I have 7 over 2000 outside. And this negative 7 over 2000 in the denominator can be written as negative 2000 by 7. And the upper limit is infinity. So I have infinity e power negative infinity. And here, this negative is killed by the square, and I still have this negative of the formula. So negative e to the negative 7x, negative e to the negative infinity. Okay, and these were the upper limits. Minus the lower limit. So the lower limit, when you substitute x equals 0, this 0 makes everything 0. And then this minus, it's just 0 minus e to the 0 over. So here so here also we had the 2000 over 7 whole square. The reason I just was casual about it is because the e to the negative infinity is going to be 0. So maybe let's just write it over here. Minus, so here a minus. So this is 2000 over 7 whole square. And that finished the upper limit. And then in the lower limit, I have a 0, and then e to the 0, and then I have a 2000 over 7 whole square. And now you can remember this is something that is learned in calculus through L'Hopital's rule, that anytime you have a polynomial infinity, so x is a polynomial, and when substitute infinity here, this infinity is coming from this polynomial x. And here it's an exponential e power negative infinity. The e power negative infinity we know goes to 0. And this 0 dominates this infinity. So in other words, the x times any exponential, in fact, any polynomial times any exponential to the negative infinity always goes to 0. So this thing goes to 0. And so we get 7 over 2000. And then we have, so this also goes to 0 because here we have e to the, this term was e to the negative infinity times this constant, and e to the negative infinity goes to 0 as discussed in the previous video. So this also goes to 0. So these first two terms are 0. And then we have another 0, and then we have a plus 2000 over 7 whole square. So this ends up being 2000 over 7. So that's the answer. Now, if you notice, there is something interesting here, that the answer comes out to be exactly the reciprocal of this coefficient. And this coefficient was appearing here, and then again in the power with a negative sign. And this is no coincidence. In fact, this is time actually to memorize this. And the thing to memorize is that if the density function so if the density function is f of x is equal to 1 over m e power negative x over m, or x greater than 0. It could be greater than 0 or greater than equal to 0, doesn't matter. And 0 otherwise. Here they have included the 0, but even if you don't include the 0 here, it still holds. So if this is a density function, so in fact, let's just write it in another, or maybe we still have space here, then the mean, which is the same as expected value, is just m. And this kind of density function is called the exponential density function. So for an exponential density function, the form is 1 over m e to the minus x over m for positive x, and 0 otherwise. And then that means that M is the mean. So in this case, so basically, when you look at the coefficient, if the coefficient and the power of the exponential match with a negative sign in the power, then the reciprocal of that coefficient is the mean. So in this case, the reciprocal of 7 over 2000 was 2000 over 7, and that was our answer.